I Want Fitness. I run a women's boot camp here in Montana. Hopefully you can hear me. And I'll just introduce you to Emma Hindhaugh. Did I say your name correct?
Yes,
awesome.
correctly.
Back in Motion, physiotherapist, and also, what's your, I can't say specialty.
No, I'm not a specialist, but I've gone and done a couple of postgrad certificates in pelvic floor and continence, and also in women's health and exercise for women. So looking at women, specifically at women, and through the different stages of their life, all the way from adolescence to elderly, postmenopause.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my target market, is that the mum, the postpartum. So
pre-menopause,
yes.
maybe post.
Yeah. So. And hi Diana, hi Jackie. Just give us a like and a thumbs up if you can hear us okay, and so I know you're out there. So I'm just seeing online, I'm just on my computer just seeing if you've popped up, so I'll just refresh. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to ask. We're just going to chat about a few things, pelvic floor, and it's not often talked about, is it? It's quite a someone keeps that to themselves unless they speak to a doctor.
Yeah,
would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of women think that it's normal, and it's common, but it doesn't need to exist. So I think my thought is that Tina and Poise are advertising on mainstream TV, and that's because women are having to use these things, and it's something that it's an area that you can actually make a massive difference with. So if you know what to do, and and it's managed appropriately. So
yeah, so I guess the stigma out there is, I've had X amount of children, this is normal, that's just the way it is, I just have to put up with this.
Yeah, so I think, I'm a mum of 3 boys, and so I've been there, and I know that, lots of things change, but there is, it's, getting into stats and boring things like that, it's an area that they've done a lot of research in, and it's probably got the greatest support on that exercise is your, first step if you've got any problems in pelvic floor issues, continence issues, prolapse issues, and things like that.
Wow, so exercise specific to pelvic floor, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like if you want to build your bicep muscle, would you say, and then you work the bicep muscle, it's the same with the pelvic floor?
Absolutely, it's a muscle that can be strengthened. So you can look at things like strengthening endurance, I know it sounds weird, but coordination, so that, the obvious one that probably, whether pregnant, post-pregnant, or at some point, is that a lot of women, and actually men, are caught with, is that they cough or sneeze, and it's like, oh, shivers.
That's right.
That I almost leaked, or I did. So you sort of want that muscle to come in quickly to stop it rather than catching it up. It's like, don't drop the baby.
Or wearing a pad all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're like, if I laugh, then it might, or even for me, jumping on the trampoline with the kids, have sort of been like, oh, we're a little bit too far there. Yeah. Sorry, kids, I've got to go for a sec. Go to the toilet. So, it's very common, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, but a lot can be done about it, and it's actually not that hard if if you're going down the right track. It's like any form of exercise, is that you can do it badly or you can do it well. And so my sort of thing is, and a few I get with women who have come in and they're like, why didn't someone tell me this? Why didn't, they feel a little bit cheated about thinking that it's normal, but there is stuff that definitely can be done done about it.
And that's why I guess we're here having a chat.
Yep.
Because, we're here to help women with that issue, and men, I guess.
Yeah. They tend to just, their anatomy is built a little bit better than ours.
Really? So unfair.
And they also don't have that, complication of having children. And I suppose the other time that, that your two stages in your life probably that we as women notice the biggest changes will be things like is the childbearing years, and then the next one is menopause. So when the childbearing one's pretty obvious, it's you carrying a sort of like quite a heavy lump there for 9 months, and then whether you have a cesarean or whether it's a vaginal delivery damage can be done. And then the other one is menopause, because there is changing in your hormone levels. So you have the elasticity sort of your connective tissue. We see it obviously with a few more wrinkles, and also is the older you get, it's harder to develop really good sized muscles. So that's.
I didn't know that.
If you see, it's the changes in your collagen and your elastin. So if you see, it's men as well, as they get older, they're a little bit more wiry. They might be strong, but they're a bit more wiry than, big bulging biceps or things like that. The pelvic floor is a muscle, and exactly the
same.
So you
got to work it.
Things stuff.
Got to work that pelvic floor.
Happens down there, then
at the red light. Hold on. I don't know. It's just hard to remember. To do those exercises. So
absolutely.
I suppose even a reminder on your phone. Or do you have any other tips?
I tend to
when
say
we get into how to do it.
We will do that, because you want to be you don't want to waste your time doing something that's rubbish. We don't, as most of us are as Isabella and I were talking, is we are squeezing this in between everything else.
Cooking dinner and getting kids organised.
Yes. So you don't want to be wasting your time or doing something that's worse than doing nothing. So, I would find that most of the ones when I speak to clients is link it in with something that you're doing anyway. So, I had a lady earlier today, and so it's hers is she does the daily crossword every single day. Well, do your exercises while you're doing the crossword. We might start off initially getting it properly in sitting or something like that, but then it might be okay once you find, and you don't have to concentrate so hard on it, is cooking dinner, doing the dishes. When I tell people about pelvic floor, when people are working their pelvic floors, when they look up, and they're engaging. My thing is, if you see the shoulders doing that, it's like, I know it feels like you're going up, but trust me, your pelvic floor is not attached to your shoulders.
Oh, that would be so much easier.
I think that's a little bit of a, what is it? Is it Borat with the mankini thing? There's a horrible visualization for you. Sorry, I'm sorry if you're eating.
Just hoping everyone can resonate with what we're talking about here. So just put out any, look, we've got a few waves. Thank you. If there's any questions, just feel free to put them into the chat box or the comment box below. There may be no questions, but we'll just keep talking. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. So have you got common problems with the weak pelvic floor?
Okay, so you're probably the two most obvious ones with a weak pelvic floor are going to be continence issues. So urinary continence more so than bowels, but and so some of those, there's two types. It can be stress, so coughing, sneezing, jumping, and basically your pelvic floor gets stressed and it just can't cope with it. So that's often a strength thing. There's also urge, where some people might have heard of, I sort of forget that I know all about this stuff, so I don't know what's normal of what people hear, is overactive bladder or urge, and that's that feeling of like you need to go to the toilet too often, or like all the time, or that's I've got to go to the toilet now and I can't hold on. So even though that seems weird that physio can do something about it, it does, and not only is it strengthening, but it can also be things like behaviour modification or just approaching things a little bit differently. That's probably, I'm going to maybe put that one to a side because it's a bit complicated. And the other one that is prolapse. So it's,
do you want to bring out your little diagram?
I haven't got a diagram. I've got my pelvic floor. And I've actually put my pelvic floor back together again today.
Oh, it's in pieces. You had to puzzle it back in together.
It tends to live in a box and fall apart, so I've actually put it back together again. So that is, I'll give you a quick anatomy 101.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
That's as if you are looking down. That's your spine there, and they're your hip bones.
So it's like your head's
So you're basically
here.
you're basically looking straight down yourself, and that's the inside view.
Hopefully you can see that.
The sacrum.
There we go.
I'm going to go real close.
Oh,
Sorry, that's really close. So that's the sacrum there, and down there is the coccyx, your little tailbone. So you've got, the girls have 3 holes, the rectum, the vagina, and then there's the urethra, which is where the wee comes out that's at the front, but down the bottom of your screen. it basically sits, I'm going to put this down and show
Yes.
with hands, is it sits like a bowl and it holds everything in, and when it contracts it goes up forwards, which with continence issues it kinks the urethra, which is like, it's like kinking a hose. Okay, so rather than it,
So it just blocks the...
well, it squeezes a bit, but it also kinks because it's much easier if you're watering your garden. It's much easier to stop the water flow by kinking a hose rather than just squeezing it like that. So that's a little bit of a weird thing that it does. And that's why the boys have much better anatomy than ours, because they have a very long hose.
Yes.
Yeah, and now I've lost my plot again.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, so that's
Just the anatomy.
yeah. So
and then when you're activating your pelvic floor, I
Yep.
usually say it's not squeezing the glutes. So some people think that they need to squeeze the butt muscles.
Yeah, no, that is not your pelvic floor, and that's. I think it's a lot of things is it's easy to activate that. You will not, as I tell lots of my people, is you will not leak wee out your bottom, and if you do, you need more than physio. So
Wee out of your bottom. That's an interesting.
No, well that's it. So,
question.
because people will actually squeeze really hard. It's easy to activate that. It's easy. This gets a bit technical. Is to activate your anal sphincter. So mine is it's stopping a wee, not stopping a fart. So it's.
Is that the sensation you want?
Yeah. So it's,
okay.
Yeah. So I think that I will talk to clients about that, and they're like, oh yeah, I get it, because I think a lot of us is when you read things like on Google and other things, is that they'll say is squeeze your back, middle, and front. But I find that most people who are coming to me, usually they're coming because there is an issue, is that. They're much more back dominated because it's much easier to contract that.
Yeah.
Like it's
So they need to just work on the front.
Well, it's more if
you're holding on for number one, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I mean, when you're coughing or sneezing, you squeeze everything. Okay, I don't care because you don't want to have an accident. You squeeze it all. But it's when you're doing. It's a bit like. In an exercise thing is that if you're trying to lift something heavy, is that you might use everything. You'll hold your breath, you'll brace, you'll do everything, but that's not necessarily that functional. That if you're wanting to, so someone who's lifting a really, really heavy weight, like the weightlifters, is they use every single part of their body. But if you're wanting to train a bicep, is you isolate that muscle. So you want to strengthen that in specifically, and that's what we sort of do with the pelvic floor.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's like singling out that muscle.
Yep.
And just working that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
otherwise the larger muscles want to take over.
Yeah, they're like
it gets all confusing.
They're like the bullies. they're easy. They're easy to do. But it's not really the one that you need to strengthen. So it's not the one that's going to cause the kink or the with that where the gap is other ones you hear is close the gap is the more you can strengthen those specific muscles, the bigger those muscles, the same way, like I call it, you're basically doing bulging biceps for your pelvic floor. So that you want them to be bigger, they take up more space, they're stronger, they last longer.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you've got a great, strong pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you can focus on those pelvic floors, you can make them those strong, bulging pelvic floor muscles.
There you go.
So if you think of it, because it's hard, it's a difficult one. It's an unseen muscle. We can't see it just by looking at it. So it's hard for people to visualise or work out exactly where it is. It's easy to work out how to do a bicep curl is you bend your elbow. It's easy to learn how to do a squat, you squat. So it's not necessarily that easy.
To see.
Yeah, and
because you don't see it, but you notice it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hang on a sec.
Yeah.
What just happened then?
Yeah.
So some common symptoms of a weak pelvic floor.
Continence problems, coughing, sneezing,
leakage.
needing to run to the loo.
Yep.
There's also the prolapse, which we did touch on before, is symptoms of that would be things like a heaviness. Or sometimes even like a lump or a bulge or something feeling like it's sitting low or falling out. Things like that as well is often worse with either end of day, because if you've been on your feet all the time, is just gravity takes its effect, and your pelvic floor, whether you realise it or not, is working, because otherwise everything
It's
would
kind
be...
of like,
it's
holding
like,
on, but you can only hold on for so long, right?
Yeah, so if it's over, you know, if you think of anything, if it's there for a long time, then it gradually sort of gives way a little bit. Again, like your bicep, if you try
and... If you're holding something for a long time like
your
this,
arms get tired and they're gradually going to fall,
so
like drop out. So it's the same.
So your pelvic floor is working. It just means that you're just fatigued.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great word. So the stronger it is, the more it can come in quickly, but it's also the stronger it is the better endurance it will have. So it's like this little marathon runner for your day. So it needs to. It also then needs to be the little sprinter that can come in and go to stop any issues happening when it really needs to. So if you're picking up something, your kids, or doing exercise, or laughing, which we hope you do a lot. We were talking about laughing with friends.
Yes,
so
definitely.
We all need to do it, but we don't want to lick.
No, we don't want to leak while we're doing it.
So
do you have some suggestions on? Let's get into some suggestions on how to manage or train or.
Yep. So with as a general thing is I don't know if people have Googled, is there's always the 10 times 10 second holds, and then there's the quick contractions and things like that. So it sounds bizarre, but it's also is that what you need to do is tailor it to you. So it's almost that you need to feel when that squeeze of the pelvic floor comes on, you hold it, but then you also need to feel that relax. There's too many people who it comes on and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and basically they've lost it by about 3, and I figure they've wasted 7 seconds of their life. So and then I think with that is you find lots of ones become a bit discouraged because they don't actually feel like they're improving. So it's a good strong hold, but trying to isolate to those, those pelvic floor muscles. So I think my easiest way to do this, and you can all do this at home when no one's watching you, is if you lean forward. I don't know how much you see. So if you lean forward a little bit, and have your knees resting on your elbows resting on your knees, and let your belly hang out a little bit.
Yep.
And think about squeezing.
We're going to do it with you.
I'm just going to sit up a little bit, otherwise we won't be a second.
We're sitting on a very high.
So,
very high. Yeah.
So you think about it's almost like the front coming off the chair, like the front of your pelvic floor coming off the chair. All right, so you can feel that. That's the front. Now, if you try and then do it and think about stopping a fart. So I know I talk about this part of my day. If you think about then stopping a fart, well, that's a bit more of the back. That's more like your glutes or your anal sphincter or something like that coming in. And often, if I get people to do that, they have this like little light bulb moments, like, I feel the difference. I feel the difference of the front, and I feel the difference at the back.
Yeah. And
doing it in that position tends to be an easy one for people
to recognise it.
To recognise it, because then if you actually slump back and it's like sloppy on the lounge chair or something, and try and do it again, it's actually quite difficult to get the front working, and the back tends to want to work more often. So that's my little. I know, I learned this in a course when it was all about the men. So it was the
one
boys.
that I've oh really?
Yeah. So
the one that I've been told is to suck your thumb really hard. Like have your the thumb on the top of the roof of your mouth. Yeah. And then you suck really hard.
Yep.
And then that activates your pelvic floor as well.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
So
now, I think it depends on different people will do different things. It's
just becoming aware of the sensation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's where leaning forward, elbows on the
well,
knees.
it's just letting your lower abdominals relax, because when you do your pelvic floor, you will get your lower abdominals coming in as well. It's a functional unit. It just will work together. It doesn't always happen the other way.
Well, we do that. We talk about that a lot in Pilates.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the transverse abdominis muscles that run across from hip bone to hip bone. And then drawing up your pelvic floor as well. So if you activate your pelvic floor, your transversus abdominis will come on always. So it's a really... Will I do it while I'm doing the forward sit?
Yeah. So and that's why when you do it is you feel you'll probably feel like your lower belly just just gently pull in a little bit. Most of the time, you know, the thing that people tend to do wrong is that they try and like be super strong with it, thinking, oh, the harder I go, the better. But with that is, as we were talking earlier today, is that you just start to pull in bigger muscles that are easier to use. So a lot of the time is I will be telling people is activate at 50% or activate at 70%, depending on the people and how they do it. And as you improve, is your 70% will get better. So you still activate at 70%, but that will improve. And it also maybe, we touched on before, is that you want to do what is appropriate for you. So if you at the time can only do 3-second holds and only do 5 repetitions before you lose it, well, that's your starting point, okay?
Yeah.
And
like
then
a baseline, like a fitness assessment.
Yes, absolutely. And absolutely, I will do that, and I will discuss with people when they come in, and that's might be what it is. And so then we might say, okay, well, for the first week I want you to do 3x5s, then it might be built up to 4x5s or 4x8, like 4-second holds, 8 repetitions.
How many times a day? Just morning and night or something?
I would tend to say the gold standard is 3 sets. So that doesn't mean that they, unlike other exercises and stuff where you might say do one at morning, one at lunchtime, one at nighttime, is I don't really care when you do them. Is I tend to find that if you have people who are quite weak and they are quite busy, is that by the evening sessions they're cactus. And so I will actually say is some of them, it might be do your exercises while you're waiting for your toast or your kettle to boil or whatever.
Can you do them in the shower?
You can do them in the shower if you like.
Okay, in the shower.
If
you get them done early in the morning,
yeah.
you get them done when you wake up.
Yeah, I would tend to say
is
in the shower if you're washing your hair or you're moving around, is probably you're not, like to start off with, is you're not concentrating as hard, because it's usually to start with, it's a little bit more of a strain on your brain than your body. Like it's like, I don't know, how am I doing this and I can't quite work it out, and am I doing the right thing? And yeah. So
maybe when you get out of bed, you put your feet on the floor. That's when you can probably, while you're checking Facebook, lean over and start working.
And liking all those things.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, or things like if you know that your quiet time is that, you know, I have my cup of tea or coffee or whatever, turn the kettle on. It takes a couple of minutes for it to boil or whatever, is maybe do one set then. Then you have it, your cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever. Then it might be you do your next set. I'm not a lover of that. I have my 2 little pet hates.
Because you might be sitting there going, okay, 1, 2, 3, oh,
the lights have changed.
I've been sitting here.
If you're like me, it's like the kids are in the back. Less so now that you're usually so busy doing other things that it's hard to concentrate properly. So I figure if you're going to do these things, is actually do it properly, because you know, it's like exercise, is you can't half do an exercise program because it's
while you're squatting and looking at Facebook.
But it's also is the whole thing is if you feel that you need to do something about this, and trust me, most of us should, if not all, then you want to do it properly, because otherwise you'll just get disheartened and won't bother doing it, and then you'll just go, well, this stuff doesn't work.
And then you'll end up having problems, and you have to live with it for the rest of your life.
And we was also...
It's really sad, isn't it?
Well, we were talking about as well is that, you know, the other time is that menopause is the time that you get the second hit of problems. So you want to do something about it before you get to that point, because like we know, it's easier to stay fit than it is to get fit. So it's doing it now when you're, you know, fitter, healthier. I hope that you're all fit and healthy. Then you'll be better off down the track. So much better off down the track. And it just then becomes, by that stage you sort of learn how to do it, and then you can start to do it where, well, it's not such a problem. I don't really have to think about it. I can do it and hold a conversation, or, you know, and no one actually really knows that you're doing it. Yeah. So it's your eyebrows aren't raising up to the roof.
Eyes. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So hopefully, I haven't got any questions here, but can you just like it, guys? Just if you're watching, just like to see if it's all hunky-dory, if you think it's all, you know, sounds good. How do we find you, Emma? Tell us where we find you.
Yeah, so I work in a private practice in Bayswater. We're in the Wanturna Mall It's Back in Motion Bayswater. Where it's a bit confusing because there is a Back in Motion Wantirna South, but they do not have a pelvic floor continence trained physio there. So our phone number is 97203007. So
yeah, and it's Emma
Hindhaugh. Sorry, I blame my husband for that name.
If you want to speak to someone, and all I Want Fitness members can get a voucher from me to get a special deal.
Yeah. And even if you don't have the voucher, just mention it and we will just go, fine.
Oh, see? Mention this video.
Yeah, well, no, just, or mention that, even for anything else that you have problems with, whether it be, pelvic floor issues or anything, is that anyone from I Want Fitness is that we do, I think, was it $20? We have $20
off your first
visit,
consult,
and then we have a 10% ongoing. So all you just need to do is just make sure that the receptionists know
that you're with me.
Yes.
And they'll check with me too that you are with me. So I've sent a lot of people to Back in Motion, not because of my training, of course, but because something might come up.
Yeah.
And,
No, and well, our whole point is as well is that we will speak to Isabella because we know her, and just give it like a thing is, this maybe person maybe should avoid this or should do a little bit more of this. And they've always been really good in modifying exercises or thing. And ultimately, our goal and Isabella's is for you guys to be fit and healthy and keep doing this stuff. So
and not to be disheartened when things like this pop up, because there can be things that we can do that we can work on to modify. So let's say skipping, for example. Can you give us some modification for skipping? Do you want to do what you did before?
Oh yeah, oh no, so my thing is I mean, I am a great hater of star jumps, and I won't do them anymore.
I don't actually.
So I don't. We were talking about this, and Isabella doesn't do it. Yeah, so we've just seen it pop up on the Facebook. Is the little running.
Me doing this.
The running is so. Is if you, because we were saying is if you're having problems skipping and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is a bit of a bouncing on my pelvic floor, or I feel like I need to go to the toilet or something, is do something different, because you're probably, the whole point of skipping is really getting your heart rate up, and if you're skipping, you'll slow down because of that. I've done my little group fitness things, and I know that not long after the kids is, I wouldn't go quickly with skipping because I felt, oh my gosh, otherwise I'm gonna, leak or something. So this is my little impersonation, is standing there or in a deep squat or in a squat and just running like that. You will exhaust yourself
or shadow boxing. So I mean, in classes, if you can't skip or if you don't want to skip, I totally give people that option. And I don't single anyone out. I say, hey guys, we're going to do some skipping, but if you don't want to skip or if you can't skip, that's fine. And I usually give some different options. So
absolutely.
Usually, some people might like to run or just
even running or it tends to put less pressure on our pelvic floor than skipping, because that double leg bounce is really quite hard on it. I think when you run, you've got a little bit more of a shock absorption ability. So doing things like that is definitely.
So that's where we don't force you to do something that's uncomfortable for you.
And you can always go, I've got a sore knee, or that ankle's a little bit dudgy, and that's why I don't skip.
We can make it about something else.
I always say that because people are like, I don't want people to know. It's like probably. I always say there's half the other people in the class are probably thinking what you're thinking, but you're all too scared to do something about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But you know what? That's the great thing about having a women's group, is that sometimes we can talk about these things. These difficult conversations we can have. Yeah. But anyway, we don't do it that often.
And you can do something about it. So,
awesome. Well, thank you very much for chatting with us today. It was sort of planned, but not really. As far as what we were going to talk about, but I think we've covered a lot. And we're going to finish up because we've been talking for half an hour and I've got to get to my bootcamp class. Do you have something for me to send out to people if they want?
We did. I've done
I haven't got it.
I've done it. I will. No, I haven't emailed it. So Sorry,
That's all right.
I'm working this afternoon.
That's all right.
It is ready to go. I will email it, and it was just about 10. Some of them are pretty obvious tips on, things to look after your pelvic floor, your bladder, and things like that.
Fantastic, awesome. So if you want a copy of that little fact sheet, tip sheet, can you just put a little comment, or you can PM me, private message me, and I'll get that to you.
And I will send it to Isabella now.
As
soon as we've done this.
I've got to go off to boot camp now. I've got an 8:15 session.
Yep.
So I probably won't get to it till tomorrow. So just so you know, if as long as you message me, I'll be able to get that to you. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just say, if people are, if you're not sure, like if you think that you need a bit of help from me or whatever, is you can ring the clinic, and even if you're not sure, leave your number or something, and I can have a quick call. So.
Oh wow! So awesome.
Thank you. Ask the girls to grab my email, and you can send me a quick email, and then it'll go directly to me, and it won't go to the practice, so no one else will be reading.
Yeah. So just if you need that, then you can private message me as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll pass my email on to Isabella.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. I hope that was really helpful for you. So let's keep practicing that pelvic floor muscle.
Yeah.
Get it nice and strong.
Yeah.
So especially heading into like menopause.
Yeah.
So. Alrighty. Thanks very much, and I hope you all have a lovely night. Thanks, guys. See ya.